My name is Marcus James. I'm part of the Teaching English team, and with me today is my colleague, Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hello, Marcus. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you, considering it is early morning. So, teachers, this is a community event, so please contribute in the live chat, ask your questions, and we'll be dealing with those as we go along in the next 30 minutes or so. Karen, what's on the agenda for today?
Well, it's very exciting because we are live streaming to Facebook and to YouTube, and we are talking about our theme of this next 3 months, Understanding My Learners. And this community event is talking about all the things that you've been talking about, we've been talking about, and exploring further what it all means, where you can find resources, and what resources we have.
Absolutely. So if you see my eyes wandering, it's because I'm looking at Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So in the live chat, do let us know where you're watching from, and we'll be giving some shout outs along the way. Karen, understanding my learners, it's obviously a very individual thing, isn't it? I mean, I understand my learners, you understand your learners. So what types of things does it include, this professional practice that we're focusing on for these 3 months?
Well, it's a very broad area that's mainly connected with this idea that the more we know our learners, the more we can adapt our lessons to make the learning as good as possible. So, for example, with my learners, I know that at different times of the year, they have different energy levels. So when it comes to the end of term, they're more tired. And so I need to provide lessons that have sort of more variety in them, a little bit pacier, maybe shorter segments because their concentration has gone down. Whereas at the beginning of term, I know that my learners are very energetic and full of life. And so knowing that about my learners helps me change some of my ideas. Also, knowing the kinds of things they're interested in. So there's local sports here that are a little bit different from sports in other countries, for example. So we use those when we're talking about things that the students do at the weekends. And so I've learned about those more localized sports that are here, for example. What about you?
Well, I mean, we've been having some interesting conversations on our social media channels recently about, how teachers get to know their learners and what types of things they find out. And I think the more general ones tended to be the likes and dislikes, the hobbies, some sort of family, who's in the household, that kind of thing. But also, I think it's a journey, isn't it? The more time we spend with our learners, the more things we pick up along the way. And I think one of the things I do as a teacher, I try to sort of keep a notebook of all these little things I sort of discover about students. Maybe they mentioned something in a writing task, or they mentioned something in a speaking exercise, and all of these things kind of come together and sort of make a bigger picture of the learner in front of you.
They do, and I think that's an important point about it's something that we've been talking about is getting to know your students is not just something in the first lesson. And that's something that's been, I kind of know it in my heart, but it's been really useful for me to be reminded that learning about our students is an ongoing, continuous process over the whole time that we're working with them. So I've started now finishing my lesson a couple of minutes early, and just talking to the students about what they're doing in their next classes, what they like. And there was one fantastic moment when we've got a poster on the wall, and some of the kids had come in a little early, and I was there a little early, or maybe it was afterwards, I can't remember. And they were talking about this poster that was to do with history and what they were learning in their history class. And they were fascinated by it. And they were so enthusiastic. And I was just letting them talk. And they were doing it in English, talking about which aspects of history they really liked. And so I thought that was a really nice moment for them to use a bit of English, to talk about their other classes and for me to just get to know them a little bit better and have a general conversation. And there was another time they'd gone on a school trip, and it was a skiing trip. So there were a lot of bruises, and they were delighted in telling me about all the adventures that they'd had. And so I slightly amended my lesson plan a little bit that day to bring in some more aspects of their experience while they'd been on the school trip into the lesson, to tell each other about, their favorite parts. And so we took a little bit of time at the beginning, and it really made the rest of the lesson go so well. Because it was like it's sort of developing a bit of rapport, a little bit of English that is not necessarily connected to the lesson, because it was real life. And I think that's something that's been coming through in a lot of the conversations that we've been having on our social media channels with our community of teachers around sort of real communication as part of, the classroom.
See, that's the thing, isn't it? Because when you're put on the spot on day one of a course, tell us about yourself. But also the responses are so generic.
Yes.
My name is, I'm from, I like.
Yes.
I say it's always, I like TV and movies.
Yes.
There's nothing of substance.
No.
There is there. Ratchnet says, I'm not quite sure what they're referring to, but even I do that, so I'm not sure which of the techniques. Okay, Mohammed, enjoy listening and learning. Thank you. Welcome, and Ahmad in Indonesia as well, Batam Island. Very nice.
Oh, how lovely.
Does sound nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a discussion, didn't we? And we did a poll where teachers responded whether they find out about their learners before teaching them, and the slight majority don't.
Interesting.
It is, but is it necessarily a good thing or a bad thing?
Good question, Marcus. Very good question. So for me, I have two classes at different ages and levels and very different types of classes. And I don't really know anything about my students except that they're first years or sixth years, or, what sort of age category they're in. And so we spend time at the beginning doing some finding out about each other. And I find out about them as I move along. But there are also things I already know in terms of they're coming to school, they have different subjects, they live in this area has specifics about it. So I think even if we don't ask, there's a lot that we already know sort of intrinsically almost as a teacher, if you know what I mean.
Yes, things we kind of notice, things that we've not heard or seen from the student themselves, but the things maybe we pick up on. So, for example, I used to have a student that would come to class, sort of be the first in class all the time, and that kind of told me that they enjoy this class more than the class before that, or any of the others. And likewise, the ones who come late, they're maybe less interested.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Lots to pick up on. Karen, going back to the theme of understanding my learners, I think you've got a couple of things ready, loaded up.
I do.
If teachers would like to discover more about this professional practice and theme, where can they go?
Well, I would say the main starting point would be on our website. But as we have an absolutely enormous amount of fantastic resources, it can sometimes be a little bit, confusing where to start. So let me show you. Here's something I prepared earlier. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is our Teaching English homepage, teachingenglish.org.uk. And on this homepage is a very useful button that says what's happening on Teaching English in April to June. And here we can find all of our general resources. But if we click on this one here, what's happening in April and June, we get all the information about our resources here. Now, for me, one of the first starting points that I went to was this link here, understanding my learners. And for teacher educators, the focus is on understanding teacher learning. So this one here, understanding my learners, is where you get what this theme really is all about. What does it involve? So here, am I going too fast scrolling, or is it okay?
No, but pause there for a second.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, developing an awareness of the diversity of your learners. So yeah, they've got the cultural background, I think we mentioned, a linguistic background, socioeconomic background, and educational background.
And I think that those are very important when you're teaching, like to know linguistic background, for example, if you've got multilingual classes, to know where the different languages come from, how many people speak different languages, and that can be a whole lesson in itself. That is a language lesson, and also finding out about your learners as well. And if you teach different age groups, or some people are teaching like multiple ages in the same class, we all have, such a variety of classes. And so part of understanding our learners is knowing where they're from, what they do, what they like doing, what their languages are, their families, and sometimes their language learning journey can be included in this.
Oh, yes.
So it's about recognizing and valuing the diversity. And it's also, and this is some of the one that I found interesting down here, is around, reflecting on your approach. It's that constant reflective cycle. Is this working? What's working? What isn't working? And providing skills for our students. Just basically making learning kind of as efficient as possible and as fun as possible. We also, if we keep going down, we have articles, magazines, and other content, publications and research, for example. So that's quite a good starting point to be looking for lots of different information. However, the lovely people on the website team have brought together some of all of these resources and sort of hand-picked a selection under teaching pathways. So teaching pathways, there are 3 levels of the teaching pathways. And the first one is at the beginning of our theme, understanding your learners, around, getting started. So what does it mean? What resources are there? And if we click on this one here, the first one, this is a ready-made pathway of tools and resources. And we can see here, we click on it here to get it. Understanding your learners. And we scroll down, and here is a whole selection of so you don't need to run around and try and click on different things. And what I like here is that it tells you how long this might take you. So you might I've got a quick 10 minutes before my next thing I have to do, or I'm just having a cup of tea on the sofa in between jobs, and I might have, let's say, 10 minutes. So here I could read this article. Or I might only have 4 minutes and I'll just watch this video. Or I might have a lot longer to do a bit more investigation into a publication and read a publication. So we've got webinars, podcasts, and we scroll down a little bit further, and lesson plans and a workbook. Now this it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, so the lesson plans, they're specifically designed to help teachers get to know their learners?
Yes, and if we click on this one here, we've got different lesson plans here for different levels as well, primary, secondary, and adults. And if we go into one of them, so let's look at my family teaching materials, for example. So we can go in here, and here we'll go down, and on the side you can see this is the age group, this is the level, and this is how long it takes. So you can have a quick check of, oh, I need something longer, or I've got older students, or that's my student's level is a bit higher than this. Or, oh, that looks perfect. Let me look a little bit further. And we can look at the lesson plan and we can get the downloads down here, so we can have a little sort of, summary of what it's about.
Excellent.
I've got another lesson plan that was on it slightly. This is how many languages can you speak. This is a secondary lesson plan. And, we were talking about, like, if you've got multilingual classes, this is a nice lesson to find out more about the languages your learners speak. And this one, let's see what level this is for. This is for teenagers at A2, and it's an hour. And this one has been organized here. So you can take a very quick look at, like, oh, they're doing a survey. I like that. And then there's a reading and a productive task and a reflection. So before you download the whole lesson plan, you can have a quick look to see if that works for you.
Excellent.
And there we go.
I do love that. Quite a few teachers are joining us from pretty much every part of the world. I can see we've got Helen in Australia. Rachna, I think, I can't remember.
Mauritius, yeah.
Yeah. We've got Valentina, I think, in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, by the flag. Edmund in Madagascar.
Fantastic.
Zora in Pakistan. Ahmed in Indonesia, lots and lots of teachers.
This is brilliant.
Did have a quick comment question from Noor, who asks, can you share the recording? Of course, this will be on our Facebook page for the next 30 days, and it will also live on our YouTube channel as well. So if you would like to review, feel free to watch as many times as you like.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I like this comment from, if I may, from Mohammed. Cultural background is so important. And I think that's part of, understanding your learners, especially if you're working with, because in the past, I've worked with people from all over the world in the same class. And so getting to know each other, as well as me, in our class of multicultural people is very interesting, and it provides a wealth of resources from our learners.
Absolutely. Quick question from Zora. Is it available on website? Yes, of course. If you head on to our profile, you can find a link that will take you directly to the Teaching English website.
Yes. And there's lots and lots and lots there. And I've used quite a few of the lesson plans and read some of the publications. And we'll be also posting out some of these resources on our social media channels as well over the coming months.
That's right. Quick answer to Noor. Right, I can see that Noor is watching on Facebook, but asking about the YouTube channel link. Again, if you head to our profile on Facebook, there's a link to our YouTube.
Excellent. Everything is connected, like our global community of teachers.
Yes. Okay.
So, Marcus, something else that I've noticed in some of the conversations that is particularly close to my heart is when we've been asking teachers. So we asked a community question, and what motivates your students? And there's been so many different comments of what teachers are doing in their classrooms. But something that I've noticed is there's been more talk of learning outside. And teachers talking about taking classes outside, or even just having a few minutes outside before class or at the end of class, or even just, going to the window and looking outside has been fascinating for me, and some really, really lovely ideas about sort of treasure hunts outside and noticing things that you can hear. So I've found that very inspiring.
Okay. I mean, it's so much, benefit. I mean, just sort of having some extra oxygen, again, helping the brain function.
That's mine.
It's just also the mood. I've been sort of reading a bit recently on sort of having a bit of a healthier lifestyle, and one of those things is to sort of get your circadian rhythm. So the first thing in the morning, go outside, get some sun in your face.
Yes.
Make sure that you're sort of getting less light toward the evening, to kind of follow that pattern. And of course, if it's children are waking up early, maybe it's dark, going into a classroom with those horrible fluorescent lights. Yeah, I mean, it makes a world of difference, doesn't
And
it? So, I mean,
know,
teachers, let us know, do you take
yeah.
your learners outside, or is there an opportunity or an environment where you can have some outdoor learning? Do let us know.
Yeah, the school, yes, Rachna is also a big fan of taking students outside, and often does that, which is fantastic. And teachers were talking about taking students, for a walk, and the conversation. I noticed that when I take my students outside, there is a lot more chat. A lot more chat outside than inside. Could be to do with the air, the light, the colors, but yeah,
Could it be
much more chat.
psychological as well? I mean, I think when we're outside might be that we feel freer, or that when we're inside in a classroom that we're more kind of controlled. I don't know.
That's a good point, because outside there's no rows.
Good point.
Just saying.
Good point. By the way, teachers, neither of us are doctors or psychologists, so we're
No.
just speculating, and we'd love to hear what you think as well. Excellent. So I'm just grabbing the YouTube link for this comment down here.
Very good. So I'm also curious in, I suppose, the balance between finding out about your learners and what we know works as teachers. So, for example, and I think I might have mentioned this before in somewhere, I asked all of my students what music they like listening to, but then I got 25 different songs, and then I didn't know what to do. So finding out about our learners and asking them what they like and how they like learning is really important. But then we get so much information. How do we then manage that into building it into what we know works as good practice as teachers?
See, that's the thing, isn't it? Information is only as good as its purpose and how you use it. Like, for example, if you are learning so much about what your students enjoy doing or like or dislike, are you adapting your lesson plans? Are you adapting your classroom management accordingly? So, I mean, what do you do, Karen? Like when you discover more information about your learners, does that change the way you might approach them?
It does. Well, it changes things. Like, it might change things. So sometimes what I've done is to make some text bigger for some students, put students who might not be able to see the board so easily at the front, if I know about that. Having more brain breaks at certain times of the day, like especially after lunch when it's a little bit sleepy, then I do that. I'm very conscious about my board work, especially having followed some of the themes that we've had over the years around sort of inclusion and diversity, understanding the different learning needs of students, of how important the board is for everybody, to be writing up notices. My colleague has amazing board work, and I often go into her classroom and look at it and get tips and reminders of using the board as such an important resource to have, I never wrote the date on the board, but now the students can't remember what day it is. The day is long for them and they've got so many different things going on. So putting the date is very sort of comforting. And I write the title of our lesson and what we're going to do. And then I write things in big, and I don't have different colors because board pens seem to run away very quickly and hide.
Oh, they do, don't they?
They do, yeah. And so yes, I do adapt the lessons, but I also know that a good structure is also important as well. And I think, having that structure and being able to sort of flow through it, to take a minute out if somebody says something really interesting, rather than going, okay, let's go I've got to finish my lesson plan, to take a minute and go, that's actually quite interesting. Let's explore that more.
Excellent. Going back to the
Yes.
getting the learners outside. I think you touched on that just now, Karen, didn't you? With no rows, more talkative. Zora says sometimes it's difficult to control.
It is so true, Zohra. It's so true. It is difficult because, like, my students are now used to going outside each week, and we do, before we go outside, they know what they need to do. They have very clear tasks, and we have signals, because I can't shout when I'm outside or bring the students back. So I have designated people who help me. So if some students run off to go and investigate a very cool tree that's on the other side of the garden, we have some people who can go and bring them back. And we have moments of, when you finish the task, we come and sit in a circle under the tree. So yes, it's difficult to control the kids, and it's a different style of classroom management. So using the students to help you, having clear instructions of the task before going outside, and then having a sort of like a 5-minute warning before going back in, before it's finished, so that they know, right, I've got 5 minutes to finish the task, put things away, get myself ready to go back inside. So sort of setting expectations and instructions helps with that.
Excellent. Comment here from Rachna there. Yes, if they're learning their preferred learning styles, they grasp and retain information easily, and using the wall as an important space.
Yes, using the wall as an important space is fantastic. Putting up students' work, displaying things that they've done. I put up our weekly tasks. So each week, different students or a different group is responsible for different things, and we check that at the beginning, and that's on the wall for everybody to see as well. So yes, the board and the wall are all resources to have, which we don't have outside.
That's true.
There are no walls and there's no board, which is why they all need to know sort of clearly what they're doing. And I have a notebook to make little notes of anything that we need to go over when we come back inside.
Quick comment here from community member Noor. Live stream time according to Pakistan time. Now, we do go live at different times. We're a global community. Right now, both Karen and myself are in Western Europe, where it's 10:30. We've got colleagues in Southeast Asia as well, who are probably about to go to bed. So it is obviously difficult to find a time that suits everyone. But if you do go to our Facebook page or YouTube channel, you'll see a list of upcoming events and live streams in a few different times, but mostly around sort of a little bit later than this. This is quite early for us usually, isn't it?
That's why there's been a lot of coffee.
Yeah, a lot of espresso.
Nice cup.
Oh, thank you. It's not real gold. But, yeah. Okay. Sorry, Karen,
Yes,
I'm just running a poll at the moment, so carry on.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm just going to bring this one up here from Noor, also about many things are learned through discussion. And I think that's an important aspect of, understanding your learners, that we can talk to them at the beginning of class, at the end of class. Teachers have talked about that as well, about spending a couple of minutes as students are coming in. How was your lesson? What did you just do? Where have you, what have you just come from? How was play? What lesson are you going to next? And spending, a couple of minutes. I know there was another comment about here about try to know the learning styles, blend them with the existing curriculum. So Angtet, so that's, we have a curriculum to follow and we have certain things to follow. Sometimes a couple of minutes, even though it might feel like you might not have time for a couple of minutes at the beginning or end of a lesson, can actually make that lesson run smoother, because the students are coming in and you're chatting to them a little bit and then settle down and they're ready for the learning. And so sort of, being, what was it called? I think it's called preparedness. Is preparing students for learning. So those first few minutes, of the class. And if you know your learners well, you'll know that the things that will work and that won't work.
And it all comes back to the theme, doesn't it? Understanding my learners.
Understanding my learners, which is there's just so much around, such a wide topic. And I think something we've also been talking about is that it can feel, oh, I need to do everything now. I know I suffer from that. Oh, I want to read everything, watch everything. But don't worry, we've got a couple of months to explore this theme. And a good starting point is with some of our resources on the website and on our social media channels.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, teachers, for joining this session and for contributing your comments and ideas as well. Do check out the Teaching English website for plenty of resources, as Karen showed us earlier in this live stream. If you missed any of it, you can catch the replay on Facebook and YouTube. Until next time, thank you everyone for joining us.
Have a lovely week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.